Well, we have planted, we have watered, we have weeded, we have fertilized, all the things, and it is in the heart now of harvesting. So this is the part where it feels so rewarding, all that hard work we put in all those months through the summer. And obviously this is not a once and done thing. You come out here once a week, maybe every other week, it just all depends, sometimes every day, and pick more and more produce. So I just picked a whole bunch of things here, and I thought it would be fun to take you throughout this week and kind of show you what I'm doing with it, how I like to preserve it for the winter. So with doing school now, I'm kind of trying to do at least one recipe a day, and one thing either canned or frozen or freeze-dried or whatever I'm doing with it. So hopefully this gives you some inspiration as I share with you all my methods and recipes, and hopefully that helps you out. If you also can, I would love to know what you're doing and how you're preserving your garden in the comments below. But on the agenda for today is peppers, so we'll be focusing on those. When I need to pick tomatoes, so there's a chance of rain this afternoon, I didn't want to leave these sitting till tomorrow. I'll just put them into Ziploc bags and pop them in the fridge, and they're usually fine for even up to a week a lot of the time. So let's get this carried inside and we'll go from there.
How will you carry all of this?
That's the thing. I'm gonna need some help. You will help me? Okay. We might almost need another little basket yet, huh? Okay, I guess we're not quite done. Found a bunch of green beans, and Abby wants them in her pocket. Right? Are you filling your pockets? How's the watermelon, bud? Is it yummy? Brought everything in now, and I want to put most of this away for today because I won't be able to get to it. In order to do that, let me grab some Ziploc bags. Joke's on me, I actually don't have big Ziploc bags now, I find, so I'm gonna have to set these aside and see if I can run to the grocery store a little bit later, because my focus this morning is on the peppers. I already have some peppers here that I had in the fridge from a different time, so I'm gonna start off by sorting them. We have a variety of peppers in this basket. We'll put the banana peppers in here. Oh, I have one bell because I don't use them all in the same way. And I also like to keep some aside. I'm trying to decide as quickly as they grow. Maybe I will actually can all of these. You lose a lot of nutrients when you're canning, and so fresh is always best, but I do still like to have, ooh, these are the jalapenos. We do really enjoy having peppers canned for especially through the winter season, since fresh is not an option then from the garden. Hudson has a basket here of the ones from his garden box. He grew all peppers in his garden box this year, and so he's gonna take some of his spicy peppers and get them ready for the freeze dryer to make like a pepper powder. We've done that before even with banana peppers, but I thought it would be fun to try the spicy ones because Josh does enjoy some good spice. I like a little bit, not as much as Josh does. So this is all the banana peppers, and then we have some bell peppers here. These are jalapenos. These are serrano peppers, which is actually my first time growing them. I asked my brother, who's so good with peppers. They have a very similar flavor to jalapenos, but they don't have the heat. So these have actually been one of my favorites this year. And then these are lunchbox peppers, which I might can, but I love these for fresh eating in salads or with hummus, dip. They are such a good snacking pepper. So these I've planted almost every year because they have such good flavor. I'm gonna start off here with the serrano peppers, and we are gonna, wait, are these serrano or poblano? Wait, I have been calling these the wrong thing the whole time. These are poblano peppers, not serrano. Serrano, I think, is a spicier pepper. Anyways, I am going to can these first. My very favorite way to can any peppers, hang on, heating up some pumpkin soup there for lunch. My very favorite way to can really any of these types of peppers that aren't super hot, is in a brine. This was actually a recipe that I learned from Josh's mom, and I should also make a disclaimer with canning methods. Either Josh's mom or my mom have these methods that they have used and had great success with. I've done this for years, but if you want to be like correct about all the things, then you might want to follow a different recipe, because I can them in the oven a lot of the time, that kind of thing that some people would feel unsafe with. So I'm just showing you what I've done. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. But to start off, I'm just gonna cut these into little rings like this and then fill jars. And I fill the jars till the rim here, and then we'll add the brine after that. So first up, we'll just fill all these jars and then focus on the next step. Just cut the stem off and then dice up the rest. Pepper on your hands. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing here then with the bell peppers. These I'll leave in a little bit bigger slices. So we like canned peppers like this over a lot of things, eggs, pizza, salads, almost anything. And so sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of varying sizes anyways, but I like to keep them kind of in separate jars just because it looks cleaner that way than if you have a bunch of sizes in one jar. Oh, and we'll do that same thing also with the banana peppers, and then we'll make a brine, and the brine will be the same for all of these. For the brine for the peppers, I do 2 cups of apple cider vinegar, 2 cups of water, 2 tablespoons salt, 1.5 cups of sugar, and I bring that to a boil, and then I just multiply that as many times as I need. So I think I'm going to start off doing that 3 or 4 times here for the amount of jars that I have. Bring that to a boil. I'll also bring my lids to a boil because they seal better that way, and I'm going to preheat my oven here to 225 degrees, and then we'll be ready to pour the brine over the peppers and get them ready to bake, which is how I can them. While I wait on my brine for the peppers, I'm gonna work on this pile of red beets. So to do that, I am just gonna take them, we'll cut the greens off, wash them, and then I have my giant canner going outside. Because these are so big, I don't have a pot big enough in here to do it inside. So we'll cook them out there, and I cook them both before I pickle them for canning and for fresh eating. So either way, these should get used. I do prefer eating red beets fresh because I feel like the canning, like so much of that stuff, you just add so much sugar, which I don't love. So hopefully we can use a lot of this fresh, and I also love making a beet borscht with it. So we'll see how we actually end up using these then. Would just rub them. I mean, one red beet like this might about feed the family. We'll see. Hopefully they're not too tough. To prep my jars, I have a little bowl of vinegar here. I'm just gonna dip my rag in and then just wipe the rim of the jars. For whatever reason, vinegar seems to help them keep their seal even better, but you can also do this with water. I did it with water for years before I learned of the vinegar. All right, and then we'll take our brine and pour that over, top it with the lids, and then bake them. And then the last step for these peppers is just popping them in the oven at 225 for 45 minutes. Okay, moving along to our tomatoes here. So I'm gonna go ahead and wash these off in the sink, and then we're gonna chop them up for ketchup. This ketchup recipe has been already so loved by so many of you, by friends in real life. It is a really good one. I actually have it from my mom, and of course I make a couple changes to it. You know how I roll with recipes. So I'll show the way that I do it with you, and hopefully it's something that you can enjoy in your home as well. It is so much better for you than traditional bought ketchup, but does not compromise on flavor. I've tried homemade ketchups before that are just really bland, and that is not this one. So we are gonna make a good batch of that today. It's actually my first batch of this summer. I've done quite a bit of pizza sauce this summer, but I haven't done ketchup yet, so I'm excited to get a batch of this in. To do this recipe one time, I need 24 cups of tomato juice. So I'm gonna just be juicing, measuring, and then doing the recipe however many times I need to use up all these tomatoes. I just take the little stem out of the tomato here and throw the whole thing, peel and everything, into my blender here. This is a Vitamix, and it does a really good job blending it all up. Sometimes I'll cut it into half or chunks or whatever, but I don't peel them or cook them before. And then I have my giant canning pot here. My next biggest one is just not big enough, and I found it's a lot easier, even though I won't nearly fill this pot, to still have everything in one spot instead of dividing it up between different pots. So I'll put all my ingredients in here, and then I'll take it out to the burner and we'll let it cook down there. So for now, let's take the stems off, chop them in half, and juice them. up with 78 cups of tomato juice here. So I'm gonna be just over tripling the recipe, but if you're just doing it one time, you're gonna wanna add 2.5 cups of vinegar, 6 cups of sugar, 3/4 teaspoon allspice, 1/4 teaspoon cloves, 1/2 cup of salt, 2 teaspoons onion powder, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, and 4 13-ounce cans of tomato paste. And then I'm gonna find my great big stir spoon here, and we will stir this all up well and then cook it for 2 hours. It should start to thicken till after that, and by the way, I do keep stirring it occasionally while it's cooking. But after 2 hours, we're gonna add some cornstarch. So if you're doing the recipe once, you're gonna add 1/2 cup of cornstarch dissolved in a little bit of water, and that will help further thicken it, because it's disappointing when you go to all the work of making ketchup and then it's runny. So that is what this recipe calls for, and I've never had it be super runny that way. Well, it is 2 hours later now, and our ketchup is definitely getting thicker, but I have my cornstarch here mixed with a little bit of water, and I'm just gonna add that. And then as soon as this thickens, we're gonna take this off the burner and pour it into jars. And then I'm actually gonna do the same process as I did yesterday. And we need to leave here pretty soon, so I won't show you the process in there as much, but it's the same thing as I did with the peppers. I'm gonna put lids on that are boiled so the rubber is soft, and then we're gonna bake it in the oven at 225 for 45 minutes and then set them out to cool, and that's all there is to it. Yesterday evening, I mixed up some zucchini and onions and salt so that could sit overnight, and this morning I want to proceed with making relish. So first up, I'm actually gonna strain this and get as much juice out of it as I can, and then we'll make the brine that goes with it and we will can it. I've done this recipe numerous times before with cucumbers and really loved it. And then I've also made an actual zucchini relish a different time, but I used a different recipe and I didn't care for that recipe as much. So I'm gonna try just switching out the cucumbers with the zucchini, and we'll see how that turns out. But I think it should be good because I know that you can use zucchini in relish as well. So we'll squish this out, then I'll just put it back in its bowl while I go ahead and make the brine. So first I'll add to my bowl here 5 cups of sugar, and then 2 teaspoons of each of these spices. I have celery seed, ginger, and turmeric. Okay, and then we'll whisk this together, and then we'll heat up our vinegar and water on the stove. Okay, I got my big pot here, the biggest one that I have that can fit on my stove, and I'm gonna add 6 cups of vinegar, and then 2 cups of water, and we'll let that get hot, and then we will add this mixture, and once that's dissolved, I'll pour in my zucchini and onions. Okay, this seems pretty well dissolved, so we're gonna go ahead and add the zucchini and onions. We're gonna stir this in well, and then it should thicken in about 15 minutes or so. We'll let it boil for that amount of time and then put it into jars. Oh no, I just realized I completely forgot to add my garlic powder. So I'm gonna quickly add that now while we wait on this to get to a boil. I'm gonna do a good like 2 tablespoons in here. Then you can sprinkle some of that on. There's nothing quite like being able to pull out something from the freezer in the dead of winter that tastes fresh like summer. And so to have that on hand, I wanted to freeze a bunch of rhubarb this year. I have just been letting it go and it frosts out, and then the next spring we enjoy some again. But this year I was like, you know what, let's be intentional about preserving some rhubarb as well. We love rhubarb in our home. My mom used to always freeze rhubarb as well. And so that's what we're gonna do with this. You can see some of the leaves aren't looking so good, but the rhubarb itself is still fine. So I'm gonna cut the leaves off, wash it good, and then we'll chop it up. Wow, it feels so good to get some of these things crossed off the list. That wasn't a lot of rhubarb. Bless their hearts, the little girls picked that rhubarb for me and looks like they picked every last little stalk. So some of them were pretty small, but that's okay. And I think they picked maybe a third or a half of the rhubarb that's out there. So we will have more to do, but I think that's all that I'll have time for today because I also want to get this pumpkin done. I love pumpkin done the correct way, I should say. I do not like store-bought pumpkin pies, but I love a homemade pumpkin pie that my mom always did growing up. It has more of a pudding base versus so firm, if that's the correct description. I'll have to make it for you sometime. Maybe I have in the past, very likely actually, because it's one that I grew up with. But I love pumpkin butter and just some different things like that that are specifically pumpkin. And so I wanted to can some pumpkin this year. So I think this is called a fairy tale pumpkin, Cinderella pumpkin. I don't know, something along those lines. But these are so good, I've found, for like cooking or for pies, that kind of thing. So what I'm gonna do is just cut this up in either halves or quarters, see what fits onto my cookie sheet, and then we'll bake this until the inside is good and tender, and then we'll actually can some of it this year. So I'm excited for that. Again, likely I'll do some more, but I only have one pumpkin right now. So I'm gonna start off with this one. Okay, I have my cookie sheet here, just line that with some parchment paper. So I'm gonna scrape out the seeds from in these pumpkins now, and then we'll put it face down on my cookie sheet. And I also like to add a little bit of water to help get the steam in there. Another way that I love to preserve the garden is through freeze dryer. So I love especially doing a lot of herbs and teas and that kind of thing. And that's exactly what I want to put more of on today. So we just finished the peppers, and my goodness, I put them into the blender yesterday, ground them up, and accidentally touched my eye. And I could not see for about 10 minutes out of that eye. It really burned. So that would be some good habaneros and jalapenos there. But what I'm gonna do with the herbs here, I don't usually like to keep the stems on too much. I just kind of pull the heads off, since that's where I think most of the flavor is. So we'll fill these. I have some parsley today, some cilantro, and then some lemongrass actually. And yes, this looks just like tall grass, but if you smell it, you'll understand why. It actually makes a delicious tea and has a lot of good health benefits as well. So I wanted to get some of that preserved for the winter season also. Nice. Okay, and they're all ready to go pop in the freeze dryer. Okay, we have a lot going on in here again, but my pumpkin is done. So I want to scoop it out of here. I'm going to just throw it in the blender. My sister did a bunch of pumpkin last year, and she was saying it was kind of stringy in there when she just put it immediately into jars. So I'm first going to blend it. We're going to do the same thing where I'm going to pour it into jars, bake it at 225 for 45 minutes. She said that worked well for her last year to do it that way. And then behind me here, I have grape juice going. So we have a bunch of Concord grapes outside, and they are always such a treat to have Concord grape juice through the winter. It's also incredible for your health, immune system, all of that. And so we're starting on that. I won't get to all of those today, but it's a start. I usually like to leave it in the steamer there for an hour before I extract the juice.
I was lost and hopeless, when I was at my worst, it's grace that you extended that I did not deserve. I am so amazed by all you have done. I cannot explain the depth of your love. Limits can't contain the heart of you, God. I'm amazed at the depth of your love. Your mercy came and found me.
Okay, I think we'll call that a wrap for this week's video. I hope it gave you some inspiration in your kitchen if you are new to canning, if you're a well-seasoned canner and enjoy preserving your garden or just produce wherever you find it locally. It is such a rewarding and tiring process, but I hope that this was helpful to you. One thing I did want to mention that I thought of later was I highly recommend, if you're having trouble with your jars sealing or just in general, always to use new lids for each time you can. So obviously you have a lot of lids from last year's produce, but to always put new lids on, that's been super helpful for me. And then I also just wanted to also reiterate about my canning methods. I don't can everything in the oven, and I know it's probably not technically considered safe. I am not telling you what to do in your kitchen. These are methods and recipes mostly which have been passed down from either Josh's mom or my mom and have worked for years for us. So anyway, passing that along for whatever it's worth. I hope you were inspired, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, friends.
Golden, golden thing.